Shalom, God bless you today. I hope everyone's doing well. So I want to do this video here for you to show you this new Hennessy commercial that had just come out. It's for Hennessy XO, and the title of the commercial video is called The Seven Worlds, and it's directed by Ridley Scott. Now, I don't normally do a lot of commercial related things, but this one in particular continuously kept coming up in my suggested, and I'm like, okay, what is this? Okay, maybe God is trying to draw my attention to something in this video. And so I go into the video and I notice that it's more of like a cinematic production, and it's telling us a lot, okay, a lot about biblical narrative that we really should be looking into, and we should be more aware of, okay, what we are maybe supporting or coming into contact with. So there is a lot here, and I wanted to show this to you, and hopefully, if you don't believe that the Bible is truth, then this may open your eyes to a lot of things as well, about what is really influencing people and how a lot of this, again, is very biblical and in relation to biblical prophecy. So to start out, we see that it's a Ridley Scott film. And the reason why I wanted to draw your attention to who Ridley Scott is, he's a very famous director, and he directed this commercial, but again, it has a longer video, which is about 4 minutes. And I'm going to try to keep this video as quick as possible, so that way you guys watch all the way through it. And, guys, I put a lot of work into these videos, and I see the analytics, and sometimes you guys watch like 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm going to try to keep it more concise, but really watch through to the end, because I'm sure that it will bless you and it will show you a lot of truth. So Ridley Scott, you can see some of his work here, but what drew my attention when looking into who he was that he had done this movie for National Geographic called Killing Jesus. He had also done, there are some other things here, the Vatican, and there are some other things that were in relation to Bible prophecy. Exodus, for example, the book of in the Torah, Gods and Kings, right, in relation to Exodus. So Ridley Scott has a background, at least with some knowledge, I would say, of biblical truth. So you're going to see a lot of that playing out in this video, okay, just to draw this attention. Now, going into the title, okay, so I'm going to play this part here, and you can see that the title is The Seven Worlds. Now, right away, I want to draw your attention to what this means and why it's important. So the seven worlds, I believe, has a relation to do with witchcraft. Now, this whole video, if you are not aware of these things, if you maybe haven't studied them out, or these things have not been shown to you, you will not understand the witchcraft part of what is really being brought through as a narrative in this video. And the fact that it said seven worlds, okay, so they're going to go into 7 different what they would consider as worlds that are in relation to the flavors in Hennessy or something like that. But why 7? Okay, because in witchcraft they have this worship of 7 planetary systems, and so these are the 7, and you can see how they're symbols. This all has to do with witchcraft and alchemy, and I guess the energy points or whatever that they use in order to harness energy. But what this has to do with is power from demonic forces. Okay, this is why the Bible tells us to come out of the pattern of the world, to be separated from the world, because what the world really worships, it's all about worship, okay, in your heart. What the world is really worshiping are these demonic forces. So Amos 5:8, I'm just going to show you the KJV and the NKJV again to point you out as to what this is relation to. But it says, seek him, this is the KJV, seek him that makes the 7 stars and Orion, and turns the shadow of death into the morning, and makes the day dark with night, that calls for the waters of the sea, and pours them out upon the face of the earth. The Lord is his name. Now, the first part here is so important. It says, seek him that maketh the 7 stars and Orion. So if you don't know anything about stars, you're going to be like, okay, there's 7 here. At least we see a number that's referring to, and Orion. Now, this has a lot to do with the star system of Pleiades. So the NKJV just uses Pleiades. But again, if you don't know anything about that, you're going to say, what does that have to do with anything? Now, Pleiades is believed to have 7 different stars. So again, I don't know deep details about this stuff when it comes to, you know, the Pleiades and this and Orion, and I'm not quite there in depth in terms of study, but I do know that in terms of 7 wandering stars, there is some more information that we can kind of extract from this. And so in terms of Pleiades, you go into Jude 1:13, it says, raging waves of the sea foaming out of their shame, wandering stars. It comes back to these wandering stars, okay? To whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. So we know that those who are punished, right, the reserved the blackness of darkness forever. These are obviously transgressors against God, okay? These are fallen angels. And so these wandering stars, in terms of the studies that I've done, I believe to be fallen angels, okay? Now, in our world, when you come about these planetary systems, right, these beings that are really being worshipped, okay, again, going back to this idea of the 7 worlds, why it goes to 7, we showed you. I showed you, and why it goes to worlds is because if Blue Letter Bible, by the way, is a really great source you can use. So if you go there, you can, it's a free source, and you look at the word wandering. So we're in Jude, which is the New Testament. So this would be the Greek, and wandering in Greek is, I don't know if it's going to play, but you can hear the pronunciation.
Strong's G 4107. Planetes.
Planetes, okay?
Planetes.
So
Player's lexicon.
Okay. So planetes, or where we get the word planets. And this means wandering, okay? And if you want, and I know that there's, you can actually go a little bit deeper. There's other places where you see this term wandering, okay? Wandering, and then it's about wandering stars. Now, star is aster, which is where you'll get the term astrology, okay? All this, again, is in relation to into witchcraft, okay? So this is where these fallen entities come from. So if you look here, it says literally, okay, or figuratively, a star. Again, aster. So fallen or wandering, right? Planet, star. And it says these are the ones who are reserved, who have been reserved for chains of darkness, right? Punishment. And I know this also has something to do with deception. And it's not showing me on here, but I use also eSword, which is very helpful. But it has something to do with deception as well. So you can see it there. This is Jude 1:13 about, again, I'll read it again. Raging waves of the sea, foaming out their own shame, wandering stars, okay, to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. Okay, so now that we know that, okay, right off the bat, we see what this is really showing us, okay? We see that this is 7 worlds, 7 planets, 7 wandering stars, 7 beings. We know that this is about witchcraft. I can write that in there. I could probably stop the video right here, and I've shown you already, okay, the influences, right? But we're going to continue on. We're going to go to the first part here. So it continues on and it plays, you see all these like swirling colors and such, and you're brought into the first world, okay? And this first world, I believe they call, okay, sweet notes. Now, again, like I said, this is supposed to, in terms of Hennessy, be about the flavor of the alcohol. But when you hear this right there, you see how they're like digging the archaeology. I'm not playing the sound in terms of trying, really hoping that I don't get any kind of copyright on this. But if you play this yourself, you'll hear when they hit the rock, it makes this sound like a note, like a ting, like a really pretty sound. Now, what I believe they're trying to draw your attention to here is the idea about megahertz and what a certain level of frequency can do to our bodies. So the music that we listen to, everything that we do, our bodies have a very high content of water. So when you tune a certain frequency, you can cause within your own body to act a certain way. And I'm going to show you this water experiment that thank you to Naphtali 1981. One of his videos actually brought this to my attention about this. So this is where I actually saw this video. But what this does in terms of frequency, so when they put 24 hertz of a wave, and they adjust the volume, watch what it does to the water, okay? It totally changes what happened to the water. This is crazy. That's for one example. And then if you change it, right, it can do other things like, so he changes it again. So this is one, turn it off and on, right? And that's what happens with the music that we listen to, with the different things that we listen to. So that's one. Now here's another example. 25, just change it. This is a forward effect. And look how it changed it completely, only by 1 hertz different, 1 wave difference, okay? So you can see the kind of effect that this has on our body. And we don't realize it because it's so common to us. Now 23, reverse effect. You go back and now it's going the other way. But we see that it causes motion, it causes these things. So it's the same thing that happens within our own bodies. Now, again, I believe they're calling your attention sweet notes, okay? Something like this. Again, everything has this double meaning. So you're seeing all this, okay? Again, as what we just saw, you see, look, everything's coming backwards. I don't know if maybe it has something to do with reverse effect that we just saw, the 23 hertz. Everything's coming upward, going backwards, right? Now, the second one is rising heat. Now, there's a few things actually to notice here. Not only are they in the desert, okay, we know that in the desert, this is a time of testing. Typically, the desert was a place where, Jesus was tempted, for example. Moses and the children of Israel, when they were sojourning through the desert, it was a time of testing. It was a time where you're going to encounter all different types of temptations, all different types of spiritual problems, right? There's a lot of things that are going to be confronted at this time, and you will encounter demonic forces, okay? So why there's this association with the desert and demonic forces? We know that they exist, and we know that the Bible does make many references to this screeching owl and this one and this and the desert. And so that's something probably for another point of study. But again, it has to do with temptation. Okay, so in the desert, a lot of times there's an association with the desert and a time of temptation. If you watch a lot of music videos from people today, when they're in the desert, you see them always in the desert in some place. And it's this time where you're going to see a lot of temptation. But now what happens in the desert, okay? Giants. All right. So now we're getting into like the Nephilim. Now what's interesting is they're walking in the darkness. So there's more than one giant. So this is Genesis 6:4. It says there were giants on the earth in those days and also afterward when the sons of God came into the daughters of men and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Okay, so we're seeing this right now. We're seeing the giants being glorified here. They're children, okay? Demonic forces. Everything is just coming against you, okay? So again, why I brought this up. Now, what I don't really know 100% what to take of this, but other than I thought it was interesting that they're walking in darkness. Do you notice that while walking in the shadow of the giants, all of them, so you're going to see the people groups. You see them here, you see them here. It's a little hard, but you can see them here. And here's the giants, okay? These perfectly like sculpted creatures that are absolutely huge, okay? But you see that all the groups, as they're walking, they're being blocked by the heat and they're walking in darkness. I don't know if this has more of a symbolic representation of, when we walk in darkness and then we come to know Jesus Christ and then we come to the light. The third part here is spicy edge. Now, spicy edge, I believe, has to do with transhumanism, okay, the third world. Now, the first thing is pretty interesting to see here. You see the inlay of all of this kind of looks like an eye. We know Freemasonry and that symbolism there. But now this is all about AI. And I believe this has to do with the beast system. This has to do with transhumanism. Revelation 13:15, it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So coming into the beast system through, a lot of this is going to be through artificial intelligence, AI, and why I wanted to bring up the NKJV version as well. Again, looking at the two, because it does kind of help us in this. But it says something different here. It says, and he was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast. Why do I bring that up? As you continue to watch, you're going to see that they begin to create. You see like the little electric as it flows through the colors, creating a human, okay, artificial intelligence. Now, again, you're not going to be able to hear the video, but when all this goes away, you hear, you saw that, like her mouth kind of went open. That was like the breath. And we know that life has to do with the breath of God. In Hebrew, you have the ruach, or the breath of God. And this is what gave life when he breathed life into Adam's nostrils. So this is the same kind of thing, giving life, giving spirit to this. But you'll see it again here. See where she took her first breath. And she is of an AI type of being. This is actually, I'll pull it up for you. This is with Da Vinci. Sorry, I'm going to show you with the body. So this image here that you're seeing here, how she's like this. This is humanism. Okay. This is all about trying to create humanism, humanist for yourself, creation of man. And that's what this is. That's what you're seeing here. She's kind of spread out that same way. And yeah, creating man. And this is what the devil wants to do, right? To create his own. So that was 3. 4, we're going right through. It's flowing flame. I believe this part has to do with judgment. All you really see is these guys kind of going around in the spacecraft and then seeing all this fire. Now there's 2 things. The Bible refers to the lake of fire, where the beast and the false prophet will go into the lake of fire. But there's also the symbolism about fire, where 2 Peter 3:7 says, but the heavens and the earth, which are now preserved by the same word, are reserved for fire until the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. So there's this concept of destruction by fire, or flowing flame, as what this is referred to in the video. So that one's just kind of quick. The next one, the 5th world, is called chocolate lull. Now there's a lot here going back to witchcraft. I'm just going to let this play out and we'll show you. Well, the first, oh wow, I didn't even notice that until now. Is that a snake? That's something. I don't think it's a snake. It's like some kind of chameleon type of, I don't know what that is, but it's definitely a reptile of some kind, a lizard or something crawling by. So this guy, he comes and he sees this kind of desert of just dryness, chocolate, but you notice all the rocks and everything start to levitate, okay, as he comes through. And he goes to sit down. Okay, I'm just gonna let you watch this, play this out. And this big chocolate rock is levitating over him. Now he's sitting, and the things around him are levitating. He eats a little bit of the chocolate, and then he begins to levitate. Okay, and we're gonna talk about this in a second here. All right, so this is all just straight up witchcraft, and I'm gonna prove this to you. So this has to do with yoga. This has to do with opening the third eye, or the highest point, cosmic conscience, which they believe is this form of inner peace. But there are 7, again, going back to 7 planetary systems, 7 in witchcraft, 7 in all of this. And it starts out with the base chakra, goes all the way up, okay, 7, again, all in alignment with the same 7-pointed stars, the planetary systems, it's all the same. Now, a lot of this has to do with the worship of self. This is New Age, or inner self, and that's what he's doing here, if you see his position there. But this is giving reverence actually to old witchcraft techniques of levitation and levitation. So levitation is not something new. This is something that a lot of witchcraft is prevalent in witchcraft, as you can see. Okay, so like I said, all of this is in relation to witchcraft. All right, but how do I know again if witches are doing this stuff? Okay, this is also this kind of yoga levitation. It's all the same spirit. Doesn't matter what kind of package you put on it, whether you want to call it witchcraft, you want to call it yoga, whatever you want to call it, meditation. But it seems that once he has that chocolate, he's enlightened, and then suddenly he is able to go and levitate again. All this in correlation to the same witchcraft. And so the next one is wood crunches. This is about just spiritualism, being one with nature. This is a big proponent in New Age practice. You see the nature's kind of imitating man by coming together and being, quote unquote, I guess, one with nature. Um, and all these animals come, and then it becomes a tree or something. So maybe this has something to do with some form of reincarnation, birth, spirit, nature. But again, the Bible condemns this. Romans 1:25 says, "Who changed the truth of God into a lie and worshiped and served the creature more than the creator, who is blessed forever. Amen." So the creature, also talking about creation, there's a lot of people that worship. They say, I want to be one with this, and I want to be in the spirit, and all this stuff. And so, yeah, this is this right here. Okay, this is all the same thing. All of this, worshiping the creation, worshiping nature as opposed to the one who created the nature. Okay. And finally, we're going to go into this last part, which goes back to this infinite, this idea of infinite reality. So this is called infinite echo. And you see all this energy kind of being pulled from each planet, as you can see, or wandering star, right? The seven worlds, seven wandering stars, and you're seeing the ones we just saw, lava. They're showing you each of them, the chocolate world, what each of them were. But really what we're seeing here is the demonic entities and the powers in which consumes them. So you see the seven, and this is supposed to be the sun, but then there's this man type of, this big figure over it. And this big figure, I personally believe, represents this idea about the universe, worshiping the universe, right? That we are to worship the universe. We are one with the universe. We are the universe. The universe is within us. And this is a lot of New Age belief, New Age practice, as opposed to the God of the Bible, who is very clear about who he is. He's not just some force that is unrelated to you. He, feels, he thinks, he speaks, he talks, he acts. He is well defined. The character of God is well defined in the Bible. And so this is kind of going back into a lot of Eastern philosophical beliefs that, we worship the universe, and the universe really is worshiping with us, and we're all just trying to get it right to evolve into a higher form of self. Okay, this is all New Age. And so what I wanted to show you, just to end this off, as this ends, this goes into, okay, so here's the ad, Hennessy XO, but it says each drop is an odyssey. So how I know this is just nail in the coffin about throwing witchcraft and spiritualism and New Age in your face is because Odyssey, an Odyssey, or the Odyssey, going it back into English literature, um, was basically about a journey home. So this is about Odysseus in Greek mythology, and his Odyssey was where he was in a land that was foreign, and he had to go on this epic journey to return home. So their idea is, we are here on earth, and our idea is to return home, or to become again one with, I guess, the universe or consciousness, or to some form of returning home. Each drop is an odyssey. Okay, so this is all New Age. Again, I hope this blessed you. Please share this. If you know somebody who maybe needs to know this kind of stuff, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I hope that this is eye-opening to you, because a lot of these things are right in our face, but so many people are very much asleep. We don't see these things, and they are important to see. They are important to talk about, and they're important to know. Because if we can shed light in the darkness, then God can use these things to call people to himself, to draw them. Because we're not fighting against flesh and blood. We're fighting against these seven wandering stars, right? Powers, principalities, spiritual wickedness in high places. And so my hope here with this video is to shed light a little bit on that darkness. Okay, so God bless you. Thank you for watching. And that's it. Shalom.